Good morning, folks. I'm Jim Schroyer, and welcome to That's My Farm. And behind me here, you can see some funny little critters, and these are goats. And we're on a goat farm near Parker, Kansas. Actually, we're on the Greg and Ann Christensen farm. And we're going to be talking to Greg here in just a moment about this operation. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, your host, and we're in luck today because we're in Lynn County near the town of Parker, and it's a huge town, by the way. And with us we have Greg Christensen, and we're on the Greg and Ann Christensen farm. And what's unusual about this interview, this section we're going to have today, is that you're a goat farmer, and that's kind of unusual in the state of Kansas. So Greg, kind of tell us about the whole operation.
I did a few things, but I had a chance to get into farming a little bit, and I had some cattle, rented some pasture. So I do some row crop farming. I've got some cows. About, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, I was training border collies. A friend of mine was teaching me how to train my border collie, and he was using goats to train them on. And my son was with me, and so this friend had said, you know, I just can't buy any goats for you to train with because they're just too high. He said they just got real high. So how much does a goat cost? He said, oh gosh, they're up to like maybe $50. And so
you're thinking $50. Maybe that's not so high after all.
Not today. It's not high at all. But so I did this little mental exercise with my son. He was in high school, and like every high school kid, he's had trouble with math, and like he thinks he'll never use it.
Right.
So I said, well, get your pencil paper out. We kind of went through the numbers, and I thought, you know, there could be some money in raising goats, because my pastures, I always said my pastures were like good for goats, but that's about it. They were brushy, poor grass, and so we started buying goats. Actually, we still have one goat on the place that was born here that first year we had goats. And she's still alive. She had twins this year.
I'll be darned. I'll be darned.
So yeah, it's 13 years later, we've got several hundred goats and several dogs that take care of them out in the pasture that keep predators away.
So, well, that's kind of an interesting way to get into it. But you still have some cows, and you said you had some corn and soybeans and a lot of pasture, mainly fescue.
Yeah, mainly fescue pasture. It started out brushy pasture, and now my brush is kind of gone. I sort of miss it because the goats do real well on it.
That's the goats will go for those trees, that shrub brush.
I've got goats and cows together in pastures. I've got goats by themselves. I got cows by themselves. I got goats with other people's cows.
Really? Yeah, you think about what goats eat. Of course, they eat grass, but they also eat forbs and that sort of thing. And the cattle don't necessarily eat the forbs and that sort of thing. So that's really...
Well, and the thing, you know, Cerisa lespedeza is really invasive, and goats, you know, they love that. And so I've got some goats eating Cerisa for a guy on his pasture where his cows are.
Okay.
So.
Greg, don't go away. We got to take a word from our sponsors. You folks at home, don't go away either. We'll be right back.
This hog is Hanover hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities, big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer. We're in Lynn County and near the town of Parker, and we have Greg Christensen with us. And Greg, tell us a little bit about these goats.
I'm weaning goats now. This is a bunch I've just weaned a couple weeks ago, and I'll be weaning the rest of them. I just gather them up by pasture. I've probably got, I don't know, 10 or 12 pastures of goats from 40 to 160 acres in each pasture.
And the age of the goats, these goats are?
These would be born in April. I usually kid everything in late March through April. And so they're, 5 months old, you know, now.
Right.
And yeah, so I'll gather them up and they'll graze here until I'll probably sell them in January.
Right.
I may have some lighter ones I'll keep till February.
Right. You don't want to back up. You don't want to back up too far because you're going to be kidding again in March and April. So you want to get rid of the last year's crop. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and see the goat market, it's lower in the summer, and then it gets a little higher, through the fall. December's a good month. January's even better. February's usually a little better. And there's no guarantees.
Right.
But before Easter, you know, it usually stays good. After Easter, it tapers off again.
Through the summer months again.
And it gets lower again. Well, so if I can get a 70-pound goat to market in January, I mean, that's my goal.
Okay.
And I'll get, you know, they won't always 70. I'm still working on that.
Sure.
But if you market a 70-pound goat, let's say your goat's weaned, you know, 50, 60 pounds, 70 pounds in August or September, they're not worth as much as if you would wait till January. But if you took that 70-pound goat in January, he weighs, you know, 90 pounds. That's too heavy. The market doesn't want that.
Right. Right.
And by waiting until January, they're not quite as picky because I can get by with selling that 70-pound goat. In November, December, they would rather have a 60-pound goat. There's a lot of goats coming to market. 60 pounds, the buyer, that's just what he wants. Well, I can't make as many dollars on a 60-pound goat. So I wait till January. They'll pay just as much for that 70-pounder then as the 60-pounder earlier. And they're usually once a month goat sales. So you have to, you know, if bad weather comes and I miss that January sale, I still got the February sale. You know,
but you still got to feed them for another month.
You got to feed them for another month, yeah, and you factor that in.
So what do you feed? What do you feed goats?
Depending on what forage I have here at home, I try to have enough grass growing up here through the late summer and stockpile it and let the goats graze. You know, when the grazing gets less, I'll start feeding the dry distiller's grain from the ethanol plant at Garnett, and I'll feed them. It just depends on their forage. You know, maybe a half a pound a day
of grain
per head
of the distiller's grain.
Yeah, just
and that's pretty good protein. That's in that 25% protein range.
Yeah, and it's real high in energy, but it's fibrous energy, and so it's not like feeding corn that upsets the room with bacteria.
Right. Right. Very interesting. Well, I tell you what, we have to take a break. Greg, don't go away, and you folks don't go away. We'll be right back as well.
American innovation is being driven in places you might not expect by people like Brent Hayek, an Oklahoma family farmer. who recently set a world land speed record in a Ford Super Duty pickup truck powered by renewable B20 biodiesel. Advanced performance is here, now, putting America on the fast track to more jobs and energy independence. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We are having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
No matter where, no matter why, the Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com, Valley Vet Supply.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, your host, and with us we have Greg Christensen. We're in Lynn County near the big town of Parker, and let's continue our conversation on goats. It's kind of fascinating. We're talking about a 70-pound goat, okay? What is the dressing percentage in that, and who buys it, and that sort of thing? So kind of take it off there.
Well, goats don't dress out very well. I would say the goats I raise would dress out 35, maybe 40%.
Okay.
You might get some individual breeds that would dress out a little bit better than that. But and my goats will go through a sale with hundreds of other goats, and they'll get on a truck and they're shipped back east to, it's usually ethnic groups that eat them, Middle Eastern people.
Because they have their, the Muslims eat a lot of goat, the Mediterranean, like you said, eat a lot of goat, and it's a lot of festivals, religious festivals in which they eat it.
Well, but there's more goat meat eaten in the rest of the world than any other meat. I mean, we're the only country that eats
so much beef.
Exactly, yeah, there's a lot of goat meat eaten throughout the world, and we import, the United States imports, I want to, a large part of their goat meat. We can't raise enough to supply it. These goats, like last year, they brought, the market was, $2.40 or 50 cents in January per pound. Then you take that goat and it's slaughtered, after it's put on a truck. By the time it reaches somebody's plate, they're paying a pretty hefty price for goat meat. I mean, it's that important to their culture. So yeah, a 70-pound goat, and I can't get them all to weigh that, but they're pretty valuable property come January. I'm just always amazed that somebody will pay that kind of money for goat meat.
Well, and you said you started out some years ago at 75 cents, and you thought you were going to get rich.
Oh yeah.
And so, what do you think? What do you think we're looking for a price this year? Will we get, with beef prices so high? Will we hit $3? That magic mark of $3?
There were some goats that sold for $3 a pound last year. I didn't get that much. It was just one sale that I heard of. But yeah, with the other meat complexes doing what they're doing, I would expect that the goats would follow suit, right?
I've had goat before in Morocco when I was there, and it's a great meat. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Okay.
People ask me if we eat a lot of goat meat. We don't really. Occasionally, if somebody breaks their leg or something, we'll butcher one, maybe make it into jerky or something. But No, I put them on a truck and I take the money and I buy beef, and that's what I like to eat.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Greg, we'll be right back. Stay with us, and folks at home, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan from Doc Talk. If you miss us on Monday morning, you can join us at 6:30 a.m. every Sunday morning on RFD TV. Doc Talk has a national following. We're sure glad that you joined us on Mondays, but if you miss us and you want to catch us out on a Sunday morning, get up at 6:30 a.m. and we'll be right there, RFD TV, 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I'll see you down the road.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back, folks. That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer, and we're on the goat farm near Parker, Kansas. And with us, we have Greg Christensen. Well, what kind of goats do you have?
Well, I use some Kiko bucks. My doe herd has got a lot of Kiko influence. I also use Texmaster bucks, which is a boar crossed with myotonic, which myotonic is a fainting goat. You might have heard of. And
yeah, I've seen the YouTube video of fainting bucks, right?
I don't know what, somebody told me, he said, well, they used to take these fainting goats and put them with their good goats. So when the coyote came up, the fainting goat would faint and the coyote would eat that one and save their good goats. So I don't know, I can't see how it's very much of a
so is that a big, predators are a big problem? That's kind of why you got into the dogs, the herding dogs and the protective dogs.
Right, yeah, I have two kinds of dogs. I have the border collies that would herd them up when I need to capture them and work them. And then I have the guard dogs, the livestock guardian dogs that just live out there with them, stay with them, protect them. At night you'll hear them barking, and those dogs, it's just in their nature, it's just in their blood. Like a hunting dog hunts, a guardian dog will bond with what you raise it with. You put whatever you want the dog to protect, you put it with them when it's just a few weeks old.
A pup, yeah.
Right. If you want to protect chickens or your kids or whatever, that's what you put. So I would put them with goats, and then they just bond and they'll go out. And if I would get goats out, there would be a dog out with them. They'll just follow them and be with them all the time.
Okay. Changing the subject here, you're also an author. So tell us a little bit about the book that you've written, and I know you have a calendar as well. And where do those funds go?
Yeah, well, I would have people come and they'd ride around with me because they were interested in getting into goats, and they'd see how what I did with my fencing, how I kept them in, what kind of breeds I used, things you're asking me here. And then they would say, well, is there some kind of book that I could get that would kind of tell me all this? And there wasn't. I didn't find one when we were starting, and so I attempted to write one, and a couple of years ago I had it published. It's called Raising Meat Goats in a Commercial Operation, and it just has what we do and how we raise them and how I do the fencing and how I market them and what I feed them. And yeah, I take the funds from the book will go to Christian missionaries, Christian groups that spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. And then I started this calendar, And now I can't quit and it's just pictures of our goats throughout the year.
They're great. They're great photographs.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. But, you know, I try to think of a little caption that goes with it, and I sell those in the fall. And I send those proceeds to groups that use goats, mostly in heavy Muslim countries where goats are prevalent in their ministry.
But you also have something in Haiti as well. What do you call it? Kid to Kid?
There's another organization that I support with some of those funds called Kid to Kid. They'll give a kid goat, a two-legged kid, a four-legged goat, and then that young person will raise that goat up, and then they'll give the first kid one of those back to the organization, and they will give to another kid.
It's kind of like Heifer International.
It's a lot like that, yeah.
It's like so. Well, Greg, let's take a break right here, and folks, stay with us. We'll be right back after these words, and we're going to go out to pasture here and take a look at goats out in the pasture. So stay with us.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
With Central National Bank Ag Professional, you'll be in good company. They'll help you track expense lines, manage variable input costs, assess ground agreements, pick a crop protection plan. These times demand ag professionals. Central National Bank. You could profit from what they know. Ag operations run better on Central Time.
Central National Bank, money for life.
Member FDIC in your hometown since 1884.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Schroyer. With us we have Greg Christensen on the goat farm near Parker, Kansas. And in this last segment here, let's talk a little bit about your pasture, because that's really an important component of your operation. I see red clover here, and what else we have?
Yeah, well, here I've got red clover. There's some common Lespedeza, some fescue. I've been stockpiling now, and I'll try to stockpile that throughout this fall for winter feed. I've got 3 pastures here, and we've just laid some pipe and put in waters, and I'll be splitting these pastures, each pasture 4 times. So I'll have 12 pastures. So I'll be able to manage these a lot better.
So rotational grazing in there, okay.
Right, yeah. I just feel like I wasn't getting as much out of these pastures as I should be. So yeah, you know, getting the water set up is the first thing I need to do. Then I'll be strip grazing this through the winter with my cattle and probably with the goats also.
That come in after the cattle are out? Or you said earlier that you put them together.
A lot of times I'll put them together. I'll be weaning my kid crop, and they'll be running over on this because this is real high protein, high energy. It's just growing up now.
Okay.
And it's good feed for them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how you maintain the pastures fertility-wise.
Yeah, I took soil test a few years ago, and I was low in phosphorus, potassium. So I've been spreading chicken litter, getting it from Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, having it trucked up. I got a truck and
a spreader.
Yeah, and been spreading 1 to 2 ton an acre per year, trying to get those levels back up where they be productive again.
Right. Well, Greg, I tell you what, I really appreciate you taking time this morning and talking to us. Not every day we get to talk to a goat producer, and I really appreciate it. I learned a lot today.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
And folks, stay with us next week, because next Friday morning we'll have another show of That's My Farm, and thank you for being with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress, powered by Kansas farmers.